Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel for another vehicle related video, and of course we are talking and revolving this video around my truck and her BTR truck Norris cam. I wanted to make a video on my gas mileage and what I got basically going 2,000 miles back home. I'm gonna keep this video as short and sweet as possible and also with timestamps down at the bottom, so if you don't care about what we did before I left and if you only care about the miles per gallon, you can skip ahead to that. I drove from, we'll just keep it short and sweet and say Las Vegas, Nevada, all the way to Indy or Indianapolis, Indiana. That way you guys know exactly the two major cities I'm talking about. In total, just for that trip, it was about 3 days or 2.5 days worth of driving, and it's 1,835 miles that I did drive. For preparation of this trip back home, first off, we took out I call it a 3-inch lift and level. We took that lift out completely. It's basically a 3 in the front and 2 in the rear, and the person before me only put the 3 in the front, but they were blocks and they never put spindles in, or whoever actually did the lift, they never changed the spindles. So I was running through CV axles in 5 years that I've owned her. So we just said, heck with that. We took out my lift, and also we switched my 33s to my stocks, or actually different stocks, because I found my dream stocks. I put lighter wheels and also smaller wheels on there, so that automatically, those two things helped drastically with my gas mileage. I feel like that's mainly because my 33s weighed 108 pounds a piece, I do believe, and my stocks, or my original stocks, only weighed around 68 pounds. So right there, that helps tremendously. The next thing is I wanted a quad fold for a while now. I've had a lot of the roll-up bed liners, and over time they just break down. I also always buy them for Facebook Marketplace, so this time I wanted to buy one new, and we ended up getting a soft top quad fold from Amazon for around $200. And also my husband found a front valance for my truck for, I do believe it was around 60, don't quote me on that, it might have been around 100. So we put on a front valance. It technically should have came stock with one, but my truck never had one on there. And then the very last thing I did to get really good gas mileage, this was actually on the trip and not preparation before, but I drove 5 miles for the most part max over the speed limit. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the actual gas mileage. And I just want to preference this by saying everybody's gas mileage will be different, and just because I got anywhere from 20 to almost 30 miles to the gallon does not mean that you will get the same. And then of course elevation, if you're running your AC, depending on the temperature, depending on how you drive, everything determines your gas mileage, so just keep that in mind. I feel like you guys already know that. So let's go ahead and get into everything I have on my phone, which I did the math, and this is just going to be easier since I'm doing a little sit down video. The first stop, we stopped in, I think it's called Salina, Utah, at a Love station. Basically I had driven 301.7 miles. I still had over a quarter gas left, but at the same time we were kind of hitting those spots where if you've been on this side of the country, they kind of tell you, oh, the next stop for gas is in 42 miles, you got to stop now, basically. So I didn't want to push it too much, so I went ahead and topped off. I put 16.227 gallons inside of my tank, which if you did the math, you divide how many miles you drove versus what you put in, that gave me 18.6 miles per gallon. My truck was telling me I had 20.2 miles per gallon, so that was a 1.6 difference. And my fuel range, I had, like I said, over 192 miles on it. And also I did a couple different, you'll see a different clips. There were a few times where I started off and I would record pretty much around 20 to 40 miles. I would record after I got gas, and then there would be the next clip. So some of these you might see 23. There was a few times that I was at 27, 29 miles per gallon, and that was driving like 20 plus miles already, but it was before I did the majority of my driving. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to throw some of those photos in. They're not really, I'm not going to really talk about them because with the math and everything like that, my truck overall average did not stay that high. The second stop was in Idaho Springs, Colorado. My truck said that I drove 425.4 miles. I ended up putting 23.234 gallons into my tank. So that averaged out to be 18.3 miles to gallon, which is 0.3 less than the tank before. And also, since my truck said 20.6 on that, it was a 2.3 difference. Our third stop was in Hays, Kansas, and I ended up driving 379.9 miles, but I filled up and put 20.957 gallons into my truck. After the math, averaged out to be 18.1 miles to gallon. My truck said 19.6, so that was only a gallon and a half difference. Our final stop on this whole 2,000 mile trip was Boonville, Missouri. I ended up driving only 382.7 miles on that tank, and then I ended up putting 22.034 gallons into her, which averaged out to 17.4. That was the worst gas mileage I did, and also my truck said 19.7, so that was a 2.3 difference. Technically, my truck was telling me anywhere from 20 to 23 is basically what I was averaging for gas mileage, but then when I would do the math, I was doing around 17 to 19 miles to the gallon. Obviously with 08 technology, and also since it's 15 years old, things are going to be a little bit off, and I'm thankful that they weren't too far off. 2.3 was the biggest difference in between what my truck said and then what the math was. And then on the way back, I didn't do the math at all, but on the way back, since we were climbing an elevation the whole time, it was 18 to 20 miles per gallon, says my truck, until we got halfway into Utah, and then all of a sudden she climbed up to 23 miles per gallon. So like I said, I didn't do the math on that. I just wanted to do it one way. So in 2,000 miles, pretty much I was getting around 18 miles per gallon on highway, even though my truck was telling me around, we'll just say 20. That's everything I had for this video. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was informative. God bless.